jauh. 예자 선바신데 봐. 예자 선바. 예자 선바신데 되네. 가는 데는 시험을 예대지 선바인데는. 아, 그래. 시간이 뭔데? 딘데 예자 선바도 시간이.
We're going to short pray for Buddha Shakyamuni and Heart Sutra. Bob will lead. English.
Please turn to page 9 of the Kurukulla Center Prayer Book.
That's page 9, Kurukulla Center Prayer Book.
To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one God beyond, the co-destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakya clan. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the co-destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakya clans. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakya clan. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise, then I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom motion like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visible form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no object of touch, no mental phenomena. There is no I element and so forth up to no mind element, up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no cessation of ignorance and so forth up to no aging and death and no cessation of aging and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, no origin, no cessation, and no path, no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom, and because their minds have no obstructions, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond error, they attain the final state beyond sorrow. All the Buddhas who reside in the three times by relying on the perfection of wisdom become manifest and complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the equal to the unequal mantra, mantra that totally pacifies all suffering, since it is not false, it is known as the truth. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Shariputra, this is how Bodhisattva great beings, trained in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and said to the superior abbot, the Bodhisattva, the great being, well said, O child of the lineage, so it is. The profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced exactly as you have taught, and the Tathagata will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra, the superior abbot of the church, the Bodhisattva, the great being, and the entire assembly as well as the worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, Gandharvas, and others, were filled with admiration and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One.
Darwe.
Short mandala pere. Bob, short mandala.
Page 37. Oh. Sorry, 35.
35, page 35. The people the outside, come inside, there's more space. Linda, Laura, come inside. Yeah, sit at the front here. Everybody come outside, come inside. Also here behind the monks there more space. Behind the monks there more space.
야다 다다리 나로서 예자 특집이 세난다 안에 다 녀마지를 소소소소 개종 가르쳐 그거 요매대 안티고르래 대송자 다랭엘로 나로서 나와 성제베가 최대 간디치 요매대 넘바서 관계를 하고는 야보여래 먼저 돈내가 최대 자천보 나로서 자천보 이세가 요를 마도 자천보 이미 준세세 나로서 제가 하고 도그 말해 대송당에 나로서 노바 성집에 취대 할 레벨에 싸워 첨보를 산두스 이 노지를 가반도나 대시고요 모체하고 고 많이 유세고 되니 싸워니데 고 많이 유세고 배발이나 되니 고 많이 유세게 몸보도 아니 실제도서도 가봐 고 많이 유세게 몸보도 가르데 노바 성집에 취대 내말라 자나라 취 싸워니네 메도 내만 로지노네 아니 자나라 취 싸워니네 메도 왜다 자나 고마다네 럼바 페네 데니 파리 치가 자노 코마테 당가로 솔마테 취시 맨 자와니를 레금데 취시 요그근데 아니 코로서 바촌도 토네 데니 제넬 대체 바레 대체넬 다 아니 다치 돈바데 자가네 타와 이타다 자가도 다 가사 칼 취지 강가 예슈레 데네 힌두레 다 조데 데네 넘바레 가사 칼 차다 토네 아니 저로서 다 취사 치고 가르 연에 데데션에 자나로 쇼스테 데셰 자신이 메치 쇼스 자나로 쇼스 자나로 요네라 아니 대 취토서 강간노네라 야쇼데 가르레 요나 데랭에테 자나고 취데 대체가 이세네 응엘 차다 도샤드스
And so today we're going to discuss about what to practice in one day's time, or any kind of practice that we do. We're supposed to do on a day, in one day. And before I go with that, it is important to understand about the Buddhism. The Buddhism is a very sacred teaching, and many people don't know about that. And there's a reason why it is sacred. And when I explained this to other places, they said they have never heard this before. Even among the Tibetans, they have never heard this before. So anyway, this is before the teachings were existed in China. Before they didn't have any teachings in China. None of the teachings were there. And later, when they understood the importance of the teachings, then the Chinese government or the kings said that we have to have some kind of teaching or religion in our country. And so they all gathered together, they did meetings, and then they decided to call upon all kinds of religions, all the Buddhism, the Christianities, the Islams, and every kind of religion. And so they announced in all part of the world, saying that we want you to bring your religion into our country, and whoever is the best, that's the one that we want to have in our country. So you said that you send one a representative of each religion to explain about the religion, about your religion, and whichever comes out to be the best one, we will keep that one.
Te chada tondele jagane ma dachamba matongi sengeshindu dachamba matongi do vigane ngaro so novega chi tapo de kaje seno yana ngema tenenu tesungu jachi segundu dangaro so tal kene roga de jachi sekene dachamba matongi sengete jana lo sha ngaro so so te tombo kode ngaro hason so mone tone nova sonjibe chida teni tawachemo se iso so mone tone ichi laba sheshu ane mana done ta mana chegedela ta 치료 관계가 다 소소소소 치대 자나 치대 대래서는 가보여 봐. 대이다 관계가 뭐가 레데데라더니 아니 자나 공하게 다 저로서 대 방어체네 되는 디쇼스. 네 신주 체네 시피다바 요나 땡에 자나르게 차다도네 아니 나도 치대 대체가 있으니 tani kaatungsha. Kaatungde jano kuma koroku chushigo yo marwa. Chushigo me da kangala semla ngangda chungwa resa lojino tendu ngangda shune ta kanichi shinju kanichi cheyung. Koro chui hakonge teni marwa. Chi hakonge ino ki shinju cheyna yapo cheshigo rwa. Ko chui hakonge me da ta ki shinju te kani cheyung. Soto ku chui de jana la tachan rogo wa te soto ku miyu na te re. Te ida ane soto ngangda chene de ta teni ya pong chene sha shugus chui de su. 아니 시피다바 예나 되는 티셔제네 최대 아니 자나고 최대 대체가 예세네 까동 아니 까동데 최대도 강가 되는 자 소소소소 취가 사텔 레세 장에 레레레레 돼요 나로서 다좀 마통기 생기대요 아니 단을 힌디도 다들이 담나 몸보디 어다 더서 데데데데 자나고 레 말에서 아니 자나고 마 요네 다 신주 간이 제가 신주 현다 제시가 요 말에 지금 나대잖아 시고요 말아 봐. 제주 제 시고요 말아. 제 심시 다 간에 제거서는 아니 자나 그 당기 춘도 강가 메타던 게 있어. 멜타기 있어. 멜타는 숨 멤버마서 나게 자나 취대 대책이 있어. 차다 동산지. 아니 강게 사사전에 대대는 문님의 봉원전에 메타서 강가 멜음바네 농베가 취도서 메타원인의 마음인데 메타원인의 심인데 다네 취대 자나가 취대 있어. 가만히는 gyamba sogla sungo yara jana de nomba soje ba khaso ma to chiji janda tsawani ne yo mare se kanongre o che dang nombe ge shute me tsawani ne maji baro ta tende ge tsa chembo se re jandu ga choro so yina ichi tembo yongre la ngaro so ngaro le yina ngone tone ha samaya a tende ge chute tsa chembo ha leba leba so so ichi lapa chi yongge du ga nomba so yina so so chiji tele shuta da tichi de yabo che yamba ha ko so na ani ichi tere yongre ba and
so then so each representative from each representative from each religion went to China with all their scriptures, all their text or scriptures to teach or to explain about their religion. And so from the Buddhism there was a arhat called Matonggen, and so Dachomba arhat Matonggen he went from the side of the Buddhism, so as a representative Buddhism, and then of course there are all different religions, representative from all different religions, so like Hindus, Islams, the Christianity, and so forth. So they all had their scriptures and the textbooks brought with them, and so now the king of the China was going to come and analyze which is going to be the best one. So he himself doesn't know about any religion, so how will he be able to tell which is good and which is not good, right? So they were all worried about, they all had a goal to bring their religion and spread it in China, but yet, they are all very afraid, thinking how is he going to analyze about that? How is he going to check, which is going to be the best one? He himself doesn't know. So in order to know which is best, you have to know it about yourself, right? So if you don't know about Buddhism, how will you be able to say whether it's good or bad and so forth, right? So they were all worried, and then and they said, he told them, to line up, all their scriptures. So everybody, sit next to them, and then he said he will come and check. And then, so then each representative, stood in front of their scriptures and text, and so this the Arhat Matonggen, has brought like so many scriptures. He says that he had to, put it on a back of a horse, to bring it. And so anyway, so he was sitting next to them, and then there were all other representatives, who were sitting next to their scriptures. And then the king announced, saying that the way he's going to analyze is by setting a fire of all the scriptures, And whichever scripture doesn't catch fire, then that's the one he said he's going to, accept as the religion in China. And so then he started to set a fire on all the scriptures, and every scripture caught fire except the Buddhist scripture. And so that itself shows that even though it is the scripture written on a paper and so forth, but it didn't catch fire at all. So that's how sacred it shows. So that the teaching, the Buddhist teaching is, and therefore he accepted the Buddhist teaching to be the teaching of the religion of China. And so just hearing that, it gave me even more confidence, more faith in the Buddhism, in Buddha's teaching, seeing that how sacred it was that it didn't catch fire, And so I thought that since you already have started to study Buddhism, and by hearing these stories, you might develop even more faith or more conviction in Buddhism.
Oh, take some that. I number so so Chutel, Ichiter and Royal Ravayo. Naro Yina, Tombone Pamene Ma, and Geges who can get a teacher and Novasonja Chile, Yichiti, Yorete, Tanda Tel, Anjo the Tiwatan, Monetonega, Yichiti, Terre Shadan Rosso. Take the Maroso tell the Chuchi tell the Shuta, and the Chuchi tell the Chitemboche Yonsena, Yaboya, Shuchine Tay. Yena, Sonja Chimandega, Maroso, the Jalama Chusune. Chit Ma Tene, tell the Choros of Tache shows. May lie at the rain do with the Tache shows, Ray Yona Yams Lecho, Ray Man Pasha shows. Oh, tennis is soon, soon they have levy Jigota about it. Rambalin the Tomba Damana Momoya, Chujin Damana Mambochi Yore. Yore the Korogama Chisu soon tell Lalekan and Droga, the tenny party yes on a departed the tenny say Mato and Shenju Cheso, Tache Cheso said, Savanine Yamade. But they are also Tomba take a Korog Chu the Marsh and the Choros of Shenju Che. One on the Seche, David says that the Lepatala, Naika, Long say Christian means and Tache. Chi sumus on the Tache, Chen and Digama, and Digama, some Tache, and they about Deona, and they told to teach you the Yamle Yaboche shoes, and they men, Pashan and Digres, Tenicano, the Tayan Winnet on a high level sort of Chile, Ichitembo Yonga, Juchi Reshan, Roba, Carization about, and some little Chichi and Damana Tanichi, Yorete, and then Kishe Jayatel, Tache, Checho, and Tawanine Yomade. And numbers of Hako, the Tibetan solution, the Tenichin and Droga says, Amato, Tache Chen, Manduna Shashu said, Tawanine Yomade. O Tesonta, Naruto Chetel, Kunsumbo, Ha Levi Kunsumbo. Then the Tache Chesh says, Gombo Lodo, the Papa Tomato, then it, Pendu Chetil, Zombali, the Pen, Sonji Chetel, Tache Chen, then the Reshan, then the Reshan, Shenju Chenel, and then Naruto Chiteja, or Ravasa, Naruto Chete, Kunsumbo, your rest.
And so, hearing this story, I hope it helped you to develop more faith in the Dharma, in the teachings of the Buddha. When I myself, I was born into Buddhist family, and then I was raised as a Buddhist and studied, Buddhism and all these things, for all this long time. Yet, hearing this story gave me even more faith in Buddhism, and so that's one thing. That's one reason why Buddha's the teaching was very sacred. And the other thing, other reason is that Buddha gave these teachings, for the benefit of his disciples, the students and disciples, trainees, and so forth. And when he gave this teaching, he didn't say you have to. This is how it is, and this is how you should have practiced. But he rather said, this is how it is, but you have to analyze it yourself. And if you find it good, then you accept it. If you don't find it good, then you don't have to accept it. That's how it is. So just that itself, makes it very heavy, heavy statement. But with that, you can totally, believe in it just because of that. There are so many religions in the world, and there are many teachers, of different religions. None of these religions says that you can analyze about it. They all says this is how it is, and this is what you have to do. If you don't do that, then this is this is going to be a sin, and so forth. And that's a negative karma. If you don't do this, but in case of Buddha, he said no. You have to analyze it yourself. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. By by giving the example of analyzing a gold. When you analyze a gold, you analyze it by cutting it. So if you see a piece of gold and you have to cut it to see it's really a solid gold or not, and then and then you also burn it by burning it and by rubbing it and so forth. So just like you analyze the gold, you should analyze the teachings of the Buddha, and if you find it good and beneficial, then you accept it. If not, then you don't have to accept it. You can just leave it. And so there are some among all these different religions. None of the religions ever says that, right? And so only the Buddha's teaching, that says that you can analyze, and if you don't find it good, then if you find it good, then you do it. If you don't find it good, helpful and so forth, you don't have to do it at all. And so therefore later many great scholars came about, like Nagarjuna, Asanga and so forth. They did a lot of analysis on the teachings of the Buddha, and that's how they came up with all these different texts, which made us easier for us to understand, so we don't have to go through all this analysis. They have already done for us, so we can easily accept it.
나로서 넘치 못해 세난다 여자 처지가 노도될 라마 소소 소소가 수동 담만다지 요래 그봐 인지 민지 내리 시가를 세요 말에 내가 나로서 가르래서나 단다테레 다 가동에 라마 가시가 대수도가 아니 쇼게 너너 롱거들 야 롱거들 아제 단독이 마셔봐도 다 야샤는 독이 셔요는 다제 가바셔요지래 아니 대문에 돈내가 다 야는 독이 마셔봐도 다 야샤는 다 다른 가로서 오는 거네 돈에 안에 주대에서 제거가 뇌에서네로 쇼게 나올라 드네체네 전주 제거 요래서
And so about practicing for the day, practice for the day, it depends on how it has been explained, right? So different lamas, different teachers have a different way of doing, and so according to the Kadamba masters, how they start their day is by thinking. So when they wake up, they immediately think, oh, I'm very fortunate that I didn't die. I didn't die last night while I was in sleep. I didn't die, and I'm very fortunate that I was able to wake up. And I'm very fortunate, to be able to wake up and continue to do this practice. And so therefore, I should keep on doing the practice. If I had died, I don't know where would I be born. So I'm very fortunate, very lucky that I didn't die, and so I should spend this day, by practicing dharma.
가르쳐 가르쳐네 가동에 라메가 담아 까테노 요래 나 담보 텔 치니 시수 요래 아니 마음에 나다 나라다 기본에서 셈라 따세네 따제 제거야돼 미 문보 요사데 나라 따제 제 소소 가주 마주 계자 가르 말을 시행은 되는데 따제 제 쇼수야래 다 도서 가르쳐 그냥 원래 대체 그거 요러와 가르쳐 뇨래 제야 되게 마 시행거 요래 몸에 나다 나라 따세야 미 문보 제를 계자 담마다 시 드네 제는 편에 포트 노네라 아니 예모투서 폐위 제를 노거 요래 소소르면은 바로 보텔 드네 제는 예모투서 폐위 제를 노거 요래 가도 멜라마디가 까니노 말에 몸에 나다 나라 따세야 나라 따세도 계자 가주 마주 가르시 예근도면 소소 가르 예근도면 따제 제 쇼세 대 가르를 드시나 몸에도 계자 남마다 세자는 미 몸보에다 아니 편에 포트 노네 예모투서 폐위 제를 노거 요래 티데스
And also the Kadamba master said, when you are in the many, in a group of many people, then always check, watch your tongue or watch your speech, right? And when you are alone by yourself, watch your mind. And so when you are with many people, then you might speak many things, right? Many different kind of things, and some may harm other people. Or by talking about things that may cause to increase more delusions in our mind. So when you are among the many people, when you're with many people, then always important to watch your speech.
세라니 제라 노도게 로다네 동메 다루 제선에 소소를 걸롱에바 매나요 계자 셰도 제가 바로 권노 테네라 오늘 돈에 소소 조보 쉬고 이 생각되네요 오늘 돈에 당어마 테네를 전도야요 레선에 테네 간노자요 대이다 몸이 나는 말 따제 제가 연세도 소레스.
So even if you don't have a bad motivation, but the way you speak, can cause other people to misunderstand. And then, so the way you speak to your friend, from the way you speak to him or her, can cause her to become one of your worst enemy. So it said that that's why it said that when you are among many people, it is always important to watch your speech.
다 집은 내에 세물라 따서야 돼. 소소 집어대들 소소 세물로 따제 제거요래. 다 미장다 되는 수치 매이다. 소소마도 매이다 세물로 따제 제거가래. 세물로 따제 제야데 세물데 가리 게이초는 로근디 메게이초는 로근디 르마텔 쇼는 로근디 따제 야보제 제거요래. 세네 다가도 멜라마도 시니들. 오늘 돈에 그좀 첨보래. 하 레빙은 알아서 다 가르쳐가로 라레타야고 쪼데 데레. 대당 집어내데 세물로 따제 제야데 하 레벨 개 첨보래. 오늘 저는 소속 세물을 따져 제야 돼. 새롭게 좀 세물에 가방 로근도 뭐. 근데 넘어서 하고 그래 나로 이나 되는 소속 집어대는 세물에 담는 로근도 와. 세물에 가방이나 로근도 와라. 어 근데 동야요 말해서 세물에 가서 갈 동야요 말 세물에 게쇼라 자네 죽을때 그거래 숨고요래서.
And then when you're by yourself, when you're alone by yourself, then always watch your mind. So when you're by yourself, you don't have anything to do, anything to speak, or anybody to speak with, or anything to do. So then your mind will wander around, go around and think all kind of different kind of things, right? So at that time, watch your mind and see whether it's going towards the virtuous thought, or whether it's going towards a non-virtuous thought, or going towards a neutral thought, and so forth, right? So it is very important, to check your mind at the time when you're by yourself. It's the same with me, and it may be same with many of you, that when we're by ourselves, our mind will go all over the place and think about all these different things, right? So at that time, it is very important to understand or catch the mind and then bring it to the virtuous state.
너도 나 대적은 방가로서 너를 전문으로 조의 추주에서 세워라. 조의 추주에서 조의 추주는 담보 섬때 소속의 계속 가르 세계나 텔 그거 아래 숨어 아래 조의 추주는 담보서 가르에서나 아니 내고 셔도셔지 그수투지 때때 정바세하동 아니 제가 요매바 깨빈 제바 쇼바세하동 리노나 치데데 저거네 산도세제 제돈 랭에서 샤와세데 숨어야래 어때 숨어야다 대가로서 칠랄레 가래로 개체조데 대숨을 숨어야래스.
And then the preparatory practices are very important also. Among the six preparatory practices, the first three, which is the first three are very important, which we have to do all the time. And so the first three are sweeping or cleaning your place, the place where you do the practice, and cleaning your place, the place where you do the practice, and arranging the representative of Buddha's body, speech, and mind, like statues, scriptures, stupas, and so forth, nicely, and then then making offering to those holy objects or the representative of Buddha's body, speech, and mind, making offerings. So undeceitful offerings, the offerings occurred without deceiving others, without causing harm to others. That kind of offerings, arranging or setting up offerings like that, and then sitting down in a Vairocana posture, the seven posture of the Vairocana, and generating or developing refuge and bodhicitta in one's mind. So those three are very important, and we have to do that all the time, every time we do practice.
나한테는 내가 제도 셔봐야 돼. 소소소소 내가 그 제고도 소리 소마야보지 제거요래. 소마 제도 셔야 돼. 소마야보지 제거요래. 소마 소소 내가 그 소마 제야 될 오늘 전에가 할레베 페이지 뭐요래. 가르를 주잖아. 소마야보지는 롱도 세부터서 롱도 제다도 강가를 세 동화. 오늘 전에 그세 동화 야보지 용요래. 아니 대마세 때네 가르쳐가고 단다테 제와 셔말을 때네 다시를 쉐비 줄을 놓아. 소마야 보쳐야 돼. 저와 셔말 다시를 쉐비 줄. 센달을 라마도 손제 손제도 소 신지 라비 줄. 소마야 보치 제가 때네 또도 대 배가요. 소바 제가이나 될 배가요 말에. 대대이다 소마야 보치 제가는 손제 손제도 강거 대패네 절라도 녀보 용고요. 그래서 뭐 아니 세와 셔말을 때네 다시를 쉐비 줄을 놓고요. 그래서 다도 동아로서 이놈의 봉체네를 계시서야 돼서 배에 셔보셔요.
And so it is very important to clean, your place, especially the shrine room, where you're going to do the practice, where you will be invoking all these holy beings like Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and so forth, right? So there are many benefits of doing that. So if you clean the place, if you clean and tidy up the place, then your mind will be also very clear, right? So you'll be able to focus and you'll be able to think properly. So your mind will be clear. And then also in the future life, you will be born in the Pure Land. So that create a cause to be born in the Pure Land. And in this life, you also receive the blessings of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So if your place is clean, then Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that you invoke will come and then bless the place. If if the place is dirty, then they will not come, so you will not receive the blessings. So there are many benefits like that, of cleaning your room, and especially the shrine room where you're going to do the practice.
다 될 소마 제도 될라용 그 괜히 마 되도를 덜 뽕 점마 뽕세네 칸에 될 라기를 계시조가야 다른 거로서 라면 제주도 소노 요아래 덜 뽕 점마 뽕세네 마 계시조야 되네 제 파바 론치바 이바요 아니 계샤네 계창가 버거든 되네 다좀면 레버 토빅 로주요아래 계샤바 사바도 가르레드시나 아니 성제 정세에서 콜 신제라네 네네메 계샤로네 덜봉 점마봉세네 마샤로네 프니야 루용네 괜히 야노거래 요 예네메 대샤로네 프니야 사박 야테 용거래 계샤 차딜 다좀면 레버 토바 테뇨레세네 오테네 계샤유 페엘 되네 모보수요아레스.
And then, so just like it is explained in the lamrim, the extensive ones and the middling and the short lamrim and teachings. So when you clean or sweep, and then every time you sweep, you have to say, abandon the dust, abandon the stain. So there is a meaning about that. And so when you sweep with that, then there's a great benefit. So there is a story, about the Chota Pindaka, one of the arhats, who achieved state of arhatship just from sweeping. So he was given a chore to sweep the temple in order to purify his negativities. So he was given a chore to sweep the temple. So when he was told to say this, abandon the dust, abandon the stains, and so he kept on doing that. And so Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the Arhats, they blessed him, and made, so when he was sweeping on this side, and then finished sweeping on this side, and then when he swept on the other side, they blessed, or they did, through their power, they made the wind to blow, and then the wind will blow all the dust, to the place where he already has swept, and then he will go on that side, and so he kept on sweeping and sweeping, and it says at the end of his sweeping, so the moment he finished sweeping, he also achieved the state of arhatship.
되네. 단다데 나로서 소소가 띠나 하고 그래 계시 야보지 정치 이도가 제오는 새 동아 야보지 용거 새 이나요. 나로서 이나요. 정말 야보지 제 요사된 로그데 소소데 새데 야본두가 괜히 존조 세대오 세대를 세면데 거동바 만두가 어때네 이다들 정치 이도가 같이 제거요 아래서 대이다 단다데 나로서 내고 샤도 셰지 아니 그 수트지 대tom바 세대 다 그것도 자들 아니 선제 존데데 그들 지르자 tani te yayato to lama yato sonje shode tani ke te doyate tani to tani re sanga ko pele yana yo lama tomo zone jer mo je kade chile jagre yena yo ta ja to je cheme ngaru so tembe da bo temba chode de so che gar sene teri sonje ngaru tembe kade chile jagre yore te ta ko ja to so yena yo ane tembe kade chile ja tani ro so to lama yena yato da doma yena kara shere yena kare na ya chene do go gres.
And so those are the reason, so why we have to keep it very clean, because our mind becomes very clear. So when we are in a place where there's very clean, our mind also feels very clean, right? And but when we're in a place where there's so much dust and dirt around, then we don't feel comfortable. Our mind is not very comfortable and is not able to think properly. So it affects. So that's why it's very important to clean the room nicely, and then arrange the representative of Buddha's body, speech, and mind nicely, so in a proper order. And so the proper order would be to have Buddha Shakyamuni, who's the founder of the teaching, put a Buddha Shakyamuni statue in the middle, and then on each side, then you can have the statues or the portraits of the gurus, the deities, and so forth, right? And in Tibet, we have this kind of a tradition where they will have the lama, the guru in the middle, because guru is the main one, the guru in the middle, and then the Buddha on the side, and so forth. But His Holiness the Dalai Lama, said because Buddha is the founder of the teaching, therefore, we should have the Buddha in the middle, and then on the sides, we can have other statues or portraits, of the gurus, the deities, Buddha, other Buddhas, and so forth.
단디 거들 그수도 때 정야 될 사사 세제 제국이 요래서 대 사사 세제 맞는 디바사 첨부 사고 요래 가르에서나 안에 그세니 어떤이 그리도 널 치자 사도 되네 그 자루 파샤야 어떤이 제가 오늘 전에 그 잠디 라자동 가도고요 잠디 라자노를 세도 송 절을 더 맞아봐체 아니 강간 단다 제국이 요래 숨고 요래 봐 대이다 대초로서 사사 제가 마도 그때 이 제원아서 오늘 대널 치자 제 레벨라 셔라 메게서 자루 파자는 잠디 라자동 가도고요 소소 그 페에 메비 디바사고 요래서
And so you have to be very careful about arranging these statues. So if you have different kind of statues made of different materials, like there's a statue made of gold or silver, and then there's a statue made of clay, some mud or clay, right? And so you say, oh, this is made of gold, so you should put in the front, and those that's made of clay you put in the back. So if you discriminate among the statues like that, then you are breaking the refuge vow, refuge precept, and you are breaking. So according to the refuge precept, you should not discriminate Buddha's statues, no matter what they are made of, whether they are made of gold or made of clay. You should regard them as the same. Because they are same being the Buddha statues, so therefore they should be regarded as same. But if you discriminate and then say, oh, this is better, so I put this in the front, and this is not so good, so I put it in the back, if you think like that, then you're breaking the refuge precept. So there will be instead of having any benefit, you will end up creating more negative karmas by doing that.
그래서 저로서 다른데 야보진의 세네는 돈중하로서 저와 가려나 저와 도는데 그래. 단데 저로서 야보진의 세 되면은 넘지 저로서 그 개와 가르치고요나 개조 가르치고요나 얘들이 제기 되려요 말해서는 저와 또 그래서.
And so now listen attentively now while I'm explaining. Then later you can ask questions if you have any questions, or if you have other questions, saying that okay, this is how I do, this is how I do, is it okay or not? And if you have questions like that, you can ask that later. Okay.
근데 제가 있는데 야보야는 게 저로서 가는 데봐 요뭐 용에 하고 야만 가로 같이 가도 밀라마서 가를 수 있는 때만 저로서는 대세 자고 요래 저로서 가는 데고 하고 요 말에 다 저로서 내바데 돈딩할래야 너희들이 야 저와동 단계 저로 데려도 대간이래서 저와동 거 있는 가로서 파지 저와 절에 제가 있는 세라 야는 그래.
So I have no idea what your desires are, what your wishes are, and I have no idea how you do it, what you do it. I don't know what you do. So then if I knew what you do, then I can say, okay, you do this first, this, that, later, and then so forth. But I don't know what you do. So so I'm just explaining whatever I have heard or studied, from the Kadamba masters and so forth. So that's what I'm explaining from my side. So since I don't know what you are doing exactly, and what is your desire and what your wishes to do, therefore later, you can ask those questions, okay?
다 그것이 뒤에 때에 dom살이 뒤인들로 채바 피고요. 채바 피들로 채바 요매바 개빈 제바 셴바서래. 채바 요매바 개빈 제바 셴바. 요매바 사야돼. 제 요매바도 끊는 요매바 사야돼. 거기요래. 제 요매바 사야돼. 저대 채베가 저대서 있는 거는 돈에가 소소 그 마비시에니 저자야 나도. 아니 투자야 나도. 어떤데 그 채바 편에 채바들 패야요 말해. 제 요래도 그래서 그봐 아니 그런 거 요매 봐서 그런 데 지대 체제가 그런 건데 다대 나차자 전에 제바 피하에는 대 그런 거 요래 대 제바 저번에는 로토고 말해서 제바 피하대도 소소 사사 세지 제거 대 알아서 여자 체제를 날래 따야 되다 대 소소 사사 제거 요래.
And so after arranging the representative of Buddha's body, speech, and mind, the statues, the scriptures, the statues, the stupas, and so forth, then you arrange, you make the offerings, right? Make offerings. So the offerings occur should be undeceitful offerings. It says and occur the undeceitful offerings and arrange them nicely. Arrange them nicely, or put them nicely on a plate or on the table and so forth. So so when we talk about the deceitful offerings, so without any deceit, so there's a deceit in terms of the material itself, right, and then deceit in terms of the motivation. So from the deceiving, from the material itself, like the material that you're making offerings, so say for the flower or whatever you're offering, if you acquire that through stealing or through causing harm to others, then that's not good. That's not good material to offer, right? And then so even if you have a good proper material that you offer, but if you offer it with the eight worldly concerns, thinking that, oh, if I offer like this, maybe people will say I'm very good and so forth, with that kind of thought, so with that kind of eight worldly concern, then that will not become offerings at all.
You can't say about nothing. I don't care about pay at the so home back as a ton of Yagore. When Lama Sheba Thomas was Sungo and also similar labor amount of Shingi Polar labor mares. Cheva Piak Zeto to Kangashoro, Dabizu, Maju, Chetonshi, Yedon, Kaze Yona, Meadow Kande, Nijabo Kande Yona, or Totokanga Soso Loy Tilon and Ania, Cheval Pitch over your arrest. Then I also when Chevig Zeg and also long Gogomare. Chevig Zeg, Tawani long Gogomare. When I turn a bit, Jiteja Condal, Benjo Posoba Kande, Yona, you tell Lama, the suggestion that Cheva Pigeon, Cheva P, pay the younger arrest there.
And then also, the offerings that we make, it entirely depends on our mind, our thought, right? So we can offer, we can offer anything. So whether we own it or not, we can make offering of those things. So if we see a beautiful garden or meadow, and water, and flowers and so forth, then we can offer that. So whatever you see that you can offer, you can just bring up in your mind and then imagine offering that. So you can do that. That will also become the offering.
Oh, they are done. Now, generally, Cheva Pigo, Cheva Pito, then they have goes on the Sera Jey, Maroga, Tataring, other conscious march and the quarter KJ Yapoyare, Muneyare, Lombo KJ, the quarter Yapoyare. Yenga, Jeda, Sheja, and Shejangashi, and KJ to the Sera Yichimadu. When the quarters of the Shindo, she was organized the Sera Yichiyomare, Muneyomare. There's the shit in the taco is and the cages are at Ando de Nuga. No go Neman, when Pasha get our color coisa. River. Get our Singapore Choro River, Quade. Neman. They take the Nono Koran like Dragamare. When a Marite, Naroso, so Comishiba, the Chorosol March, Shatogaina. And the Chetang, Tata Sugar, and Naroto Cheva Pay at the long over Mares. She you book can easy Yabuchiona, Techeva, your pitch or the mother, Kindoga Mare, P. Pay the go, P. Pay the younger Naros. Kindoga Naros pitch over Mare, Tengaros Ongo Marva. Kindoga Mare, the Cheva Piatel, Kaze Homba Sana, Yagar Suate Tide. Naroto Tata about the Cheva Pizzi Me, Tangan Sosa, the Jochia, Savan in a Cheva Pizzi Me, Nacho is and then the Chonjo and the dead of Yorva. Oh, they go Mares, no matter can get Chamba and Jite, you call the Penjo Potosoba, Candichiona, you tell Lama, you do Soja, the Cheva Pijan, they pay the social younger Yores.
So like I said before, that's that we should be very generous about offering, and then we use the term like a greed, so it's a very greedy person who wants to have everything for himself, right? So here you can change the greed to offer to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as much as you can. So when I said you can offer of the things that doesn't belong to yourself, right? If you don't own it, you can still make offering of those things. So the difference is that if you're taking it away, then of course it's not good, right? So if you're taking it away, then it's not allowed because it's not given to you. But when you offer, you're not taking it away. You're making offerings. It's still there. Right? The person, even though it belongs to somebody else, is still there. You're not taking it away. You can, when you make offering of that thing, you are not taking it away. The thing is still there with that person, but you're just making offering of that thing to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So when you do that way, it becomes a proper offering. And so since we always make offerings, right? Every day we get up and we offer like water bowls and so forth. So it's good to know how to make the offerings, how to make the best out of the offerings. So if we don't have the thing that I'm very poor, I'm very I don't have all these material things to make offerings of. We don't have a thing like that. All the things in the world, everything that you can think of in the world, the possessions of all these people, and all the lands and all the meadows and all the flowers and so forth in the world. You can think of anything you can think of in the world that is good. You can make offerings of that. When you offer that, you receive the benefit of making offering of those things.
And it tells you also,
Mas, come
Yeah.
Correct.
Also, time to skip a little bit. I will try.
Bad translation.
Anyway, Rinpoche said he's very comfortable with the translator. He's very scholar and very experienced long-term how to translate it. Therefore, he's very happy and comfortable how much he can explain. Whatever he's explaining, whatever he say, you all get the benefits. Otherwise, sometimes he meet a Western or Tibetan different translators. They like to translate it. That he's not very comfortable because they have not much knowledge about Buddhism. Also, they don't have much experience. Therefore, he's very long-term senior translation. Therefore, he's very also comfortable. He just kept that.
Oh, that keeping Zeba Shomba said, Yanchana, the pa pig in a Katu Tata Jenipa, Katu Tata Che, and it tell Koro Shechu Chipachi Jang. Teach the three legged the Pasho that get you meeting a Tenichi Chegores and the Tasha number of my Yacha Petonus and Andolma Lajot. Raba, Kare edition keeping Zeba Shomba said, Katu Tata Chene. Katu Tata Che, and it teach the three legged Yadani de Gecho Majange. Nendu cheese shego shechen ne go yamare so baba noji tene menisare yang ngase go pele la tene yore te lama so suare ane ti dangta cheese ma ma chote ribo na de cheese remote ne phan doze so yore tene che chogo mare sare nen zebo yamare karere de keben zeba shomba sade katu yambo che zo ge na ibichi cheba 어 이치 제발이 로고 요래 대이다 코로 테니체네 파 셰체주 내도 체데서 마도 마이케존에 테니체네 쪽도 요래스 아니 테마세 연차들 철류거를 마콩이 제고 요래서 이나 나다 마콩와시 대제 뚠바 대 가르에서는 땡땡네 제바 제래 숨거든 가르에서는 나로서 로지고 거의 철류 비싸네 요 말에 대용 오늘 돈에 세나 제거 제세고 배 제바 피 돌리고 땡땡네 제바 제래 세거든 rāba chāmbibo yana kōrōga pē ngōne tōna yāñchā pēne pē chē dōtō chēne sēnā chē gāyā tēndē gā wāne chāchā nōmbā sō sūngōde wā tē tēndē gā nē chēbā chē rē sūngōde tē īsā rē sōsō gā tēndē pēchī gā lī gā tēndē gā nē chēbā chē dō gā yā rē sē dādā khōnyā gā mā rē sūngōde ane chēmē yana dādā khōng gā wā rē sē chēmē yana tūpa jā chōgō mā rē sē dādā khōng gā yā rē sē kā rē chēnā pē lē nā mā dō tō sō kēmbō rē Kembo Yinayo, Soso Wangone Tonic, Dada Pijaga, Tindigane, Chava Chere, Sungu, Tato Sungane, Lama Sheba Tomataso, Korosoma, Nyamles and Laleta, and also Makano, and Natural Tema, Leche Guyarova. What in it is.
And so these offerings that we offer, we should arrange them very beautifully, nicely and beautifully. So that's in the case of the actual the physical offerings that we make, right? So especially like when we make water bowl offerings, we have all this many number of water bowls that we offer in a row, right? So when you arrange it in a row, it has to be in a very straight line. If it's crooked, and then it's not good. Again, you may end up creating more negative karma if you do that way. So you have to arrange it in a very straight row. And you should leave some gap in between each of the water bowls. So it's said that when you move one, it doesn't, and when you take one, it doesn't move the other one. So which means you have to leave a little bit of space. If it's touching, then when you move this one, other one will get moved also, right? So if it's not touching, then it will not get moved. So you have to leave like a gap at the size of a grain. It's the size of a rice grain. Or barley grain, in the size of a barley grain, and then put it arrange it in a nice way, and so when you arrange it in a nice way, that also becomes a good shape. So you offer the water, and you also make the offering of a shape. So good shape. So that includes two kind of offerings. So water offering and the offering of the shape, a nice shape. When you arrange it nicely, and then when you offer the water, it should not be filled to the rim of the bowl, or of course should not be overflowing. or should not be all the way top, to the full. You should leave a little bit of space in the, some little bit space in the water bowl. It says it is auspicious because water is very plenty, right? So there's water everywhere, so you don't have to be stingy about water. So even if it's plenty, and you don't have to be stingy about it, but yet you still leave some space in the bowl. That's an auspicious sign. That's what the previous gurus used to say. So there's an auspicious sign of that. And then, like usually, like in Tibet, we make a butter lamp offering. So the lamp, light offering, we usually make it off, out of the butter. And so there, when you have the container, where you make the butter lamp, you have to fill the butter lamp, to the rim. You have to fill it because again, the butter is very scarce, right? Very, very rare, very scarce. Yet, you make it all the way to the full. So that is also again an auspicious symbol. And so when you anyway, so these are the offerings, that we have to make it very nicely. So if we do it nicely, and then we receive the benefit of making these offerings.
다 제가 야 배야 돼요. 소소 영원에 돈내가 다 최첨에가 되는데 세난다. 그럼 야보 지금 돈내를 제바데 피그고 여러마도 드마 개체보체 용기도 세네더니 제바 피자야나도 더니는 제바데 포소소반 로고요 말에 피발레마 피바가고요래. 가르레 세능에나 나는 펜보는 날레달로 다나 계신 백공자 생에서라. 계신 백공자 생 뒤나다데 나로서 라마 셰보도마서 가디 이나 까노고요래. 나로서 대 용이 정보레세네. 계신 백공자가 안에 손이 걸어는 것이 바 정보치 용거 살아봐. 드마 용거 이세네 라우사래. 근데 손이 쪽에 가사다네 알아 계시제 예자제 피 빼도마 양무치스네. 안에 걸어 주된 거는 마슈바레서 마슈데레 치타딜 빼무시바 야보레요. 제바도 송문에 돈에 할레베 야보레요. 아니 걸어 끊어들 치타 따르게 당것도 소치분에서 샘라 따세야. 외식 매고자 다야 제바 야보데 가리게 체들에 산디세레 드린 드마치 용야 요사 디체들에요. 온 드마치 용야 요사 디체들에든 지대 체제 생겨들에. 롱소야 롱네 탈라지크는 예자도 송걸 탈라토니 지대 체제 갈 탈라죠 세네라 탈라셔야 야자. 오늘 제가天津바데 계신 백고자가 제바텔레 퍼스토 바센 이때지 코너 용마 송세네 라마 셰바도 바서 되니 간노아레세.
And then so when you make these offerings, you should think of the making offering for the benefit of oneself in one's future lives. Okay, at the very least, one should think like that. One should think like that, for that purpose, I'm going to make offering. Or of course, if you can have other better motivation, that's even better, right? At the very least, anyway, one should not have eight worldly concerns, eight worldly thoughts, any kind of eight worldly thoughts should not offer with that kind of thought. And so, like say, I'm going to arrange these offerings in a very beautiful way so that, somebody will say that I'm doing a very good practice, so I'm a very good person, and so forth. So with that thought, if you make offerings, then that offering will be better not offered. So because you only create negative karma by making that kind of offering, so that's not good. And so there's this a great master or practitioner called Geshe Begongyal, and so he's one of the Kadamba masters. So he always checks his mind whenever he's sitting down, and then so just like I said earlier, when you're alone by yourself, you should check your mind, right? And so one day he was going to have a visitor. So he was going to some special guest was going to come and visit, maybe his sponsor or somebody who is going to come and visit him. And so he arranged the offerings very nicely, to impress them, right? To show them that he is a very good practitioner and doing very good practice and so forth. So and then after arranging the offerings, and then he sat down and looked at the offering, and then he found the offerings were very beautifully arranged, and then he started to check his mind, and then he says, why was I making this offering, like that? And then he thought, I was making this. Then he realized that he was making this to impress the special guest, right? And then immediately he said, this is the eight worldly concern, eight worldly thought. And then he stood up, and then he grabbed a handful of ashes and then just spread all over the offering. And then so then other lama who was doing practice, who saw it through his maybe clairvoyance or something, and he said that was the best offering anybody had ever made, on that day. because he throw ash on the face of the eight worldly concern.
제바 코로 tsoma yi ma yu re munduga sem tsoma yi za ti re duga te ngaro solo la ja chembo so ga ngaro so so sem de tsoma ya bo ji chun tin ri yo ro ba ne geshin be kongja senge de ngone to ne ta ti go logi te ngaro so khadi yin na yo lama chebo to ma so ka nong yo re geshin be kongja se ne koro lo mi duga re be kongja se ne mi duga re mi ya ga de choti jawa se go re choti jawa ha ko ta ro ba be kongja se ne mi duga te re ane koro ga nyama che nyeja te che le shinju che ne 다 도규티 샤를 대대네 다 들이 가르쳐도 따네 개와 가르쳐도 디바 가르쳐도 신주 제가 내 당연히 쉬어야지 마 샘을 따셔야 돼 그래도 샘을 따제 제네를 가르쳐도 따네 다 티냐바 개조 야보 제면은 라바 요마텔을 쓰는 내리잖아 매 공자는 뭐 매 공자 저로 가르래 다른 로야 싸니메게 가디이나 집바 제조래샤도 텐데 제 아세네 미 상세 받아서 녀대들 미치 요바서 소소테네 가주 도요래 어때서 근데 가도 멜라마서 녀래라 봐 가르래 저러 다른 로야 싸와니네 메네 가디이나 베고자는 베고자 레레 론레세네 가주 도고요 대 동자들 손이 소속 세들 대대 팽거요래
지난 베공자선을 들어가는
베공자선은 그런 미 누가 들어 봐 아니 라바 요마테 대존에 베고자서 예바티 수리 잡아서 그래 미
So, it is not important, to have a clean offering. It is more important to have a clean mind. That's what it shows, right? So even though his offerings, were all spread, with the ashes, it's not clean. Yet his mind was very clean, so therefore it became a very good offering, right? And so there's this master, Geshe Begunge, is an amazing practitioner who is mentioned in many of the teachings, by many teachers. So his name Begunge is actually a nickname which has a bad meaning. So bad meaning, and is the nickname, and his actual name is Tsuldim Jalwa. So his name is Tsuldim. So then, like I said earlier, when he was sitting by himself, and he will analyze, his mind, and he will see what he did today and what he did today. What kind of virtuous action did he do today? What kind of non-virtuous action did he do today? And he will be very honest, to himself. And then. So so when he see that he has done something bad today, and then he will hold his left hand, and then he will say, "You Begungen, you did a very bad today. You are not you are not improving at all. You better do some better, something good now." So he will talk to himself like that. So he will hold his left hand and call him like that. Call him by his nickname. So if someone were to hear him, then he will be like, and they will say, "Oh, he's speaking to somebody else," but actually he's speaking to himself. He's speaking to himself. And then when he does good, he will hold his right hand and then say, "Oh, Tsuldim Jawa, you did a very good today."
Oh, that any chega is a coral bekojas and the kaju to Sony Teza Sasa Cherior. Sony Sasa Cher, Sony Gunda, the Lapa Yapa Telesune, there, Sutu Jawa Sene. Yagatichen, Lapa Yapa Telesune. Sutu Jawala, Twitch Chair, Chora Pim, Mosiba Yapo Cheshan, Tanda Mutuni, Tani Cheru Ches, and all Kajanit, Sunguyores. What the Lapa Yapa the Yaga is a Sutu Javache. Yoga the Duga is a Bekojache, Tanichi and Kadam Lamata Chegayores.
So then, because he scolded himself, right, by holding his left hand and calling him by his nickname, he scolded himself. You are very bad. You did very bad. You are not improving at all. You better do better, good now, and so forth. So he kind of scolded himself, right? And the next day he will be more careful. He will be more conscientious, and he will act better, right? Next day, and so next day when he does better, then he will hold his right hand, and then he'll say, "Oh, Tsuldim Jawa, you did very good today. Thank you very much for doing, and keep on doing these good things, okay?" So he will speak to himself like that.
Oh, Tani is a Kadam Lamato, Ducano Segundua, Ducano do, Chuchu Cabo Tene Montache, Nabo Montache, and it's so similar Tache Chene. Yamachi, some of the Cabo Kaze Chegundu, Nabo Kaze Yungu, Tache Chene, Sem Cabo, Gavisho Reno, the dog Cabo Reza, or Magisho Pando, Don Napo Resha, Tani Chedil, Tambo Tabala, Don Napo, Dada Yungo, Cabo Rezani, the Mato Yungo Yama, me. Oh, Tani Chene Tega, that Napo Chunjo, that sell in Javatoni. Abtate Yaputsawan, when it Tasani is other check and the stone, the Tenichen is Jama Tele, Docabo Mo, Napo New and Royo Arrest, take Korosu, Nyole, Tangaroso, Dodo, Dugayome Machite, Raba, Tenichen, Laleta Guyore.
And so these Kadamba masters, they do their practice, by counting the white and black, stone. And so there's round stones. So they have a white and black round stones, with them, and then they will every day they will count. And so how many good deeds they do, and then they will count it with a white stone, a white round stone, and then whatever bad things they did on that day, then they will count it, with the black, round stone. And so normally at the beginning, there will be always there will be a lot of black round stones. Yet only one or two white round stones, and then they realize, okay, so this is what bad I do. I should not do that tomorrow. So next day they will stop doing that, and then they do better ones. So then they will have more of the white round stone. So then later they will see that they have they only do good things. So then they only see the white round stones. So that's how they develop their practices.
Tene ngaro so de semla tache chene la geve se yongon du me geve se yongon du tache cheya de shada ke chembo re se re se tanga ka do me lama to so la ane me geve semle ge de la se me gewa de le ge la te ngoshi ba chene o ta de tenge de le so ngone to ne ta ngaro so kanga thola to nge sem de re se ne se ta sa ba do ba che ge re se re kong le so na da de cha le so na yenda o 다 tumi도 ngaro서 너지 요용 말에 어 드니 레그레 용거 요바데 모시바 제거로 단다 받아 ngaro서 녀모 가르 용거 요메데 단다 받아 ngaro서 녀모를 요보주네 되대요. 시에 타원이는 통요 말에 대사 용나 용치 텔 자쇼도네 와 테르다스네 텔 자쇼체네 되대 컨트롤에서는 텔 자쇼체네 컨트롤 살리텔 용조 사체네 되대요. 여러와 ngaro서 강에 곰바지다 하고 그래. 콘도 때에서 발레 그래 텔 자쇼체네 밑에 뒤져서 봐서네 텔 제세 모보지 소노토네 콘도 체르체르 당거두와 근데 자나세 레소나 덤보 때에마도 요 말에 텔 제세 모보지 소노토 체르체르 동대고 여러봐 단다 받은 알아서 나이나 데레 저러서이나 데레데 텔 당 알아서 예미 딱 알아봐 단다 받은 가도 멜라마서 수거를 예모 뒤에서 요보대요 그래서 알아서 걸어서 가라서나 뒤지고 로자고요 알아서 rāba pēnā sōsō kā kōntō chē lē sōnā tī kī yōpō chē nē tī mē tē dūchā rē tā sē wō rē tā sē nē tī nī sōnō mōmbō chē tōng nē anē kōntō chē rē tō tē mā shāyā mē pā yā nē chē rē tōng yō rāba tā nōmbā sō kā lē sōsō shīnchū chē tā hā kō kī rē shīnchū chē nā hā kō kī rē anē chāpā yī nā yō tā kā rē tōmbō chāpā tē rē mā chē yō mā rē jē chālā lē yī nā rā kā rē chāpā yī nā rā tē rē mā tō yō mā rē tā tē lō lā bō chī rō tā nē pē 하성야가 야포임바치 드었다네 아니 텔 자쇼체네 어때 야포임비 제세 뭐뭐지 소노 동네 잡아대야 고네 배치고 열어봐 배치고 열어 다 알아서 다네 주대 더솔 아니 예미데 따토 그거 열어 순거
So it is important, to always check, our mind and see whether it's going towards the virtuous action or virtuous thought or non-virtuous thought. And so whenever non-virtuous thoughts comes up, we have to recognize that. Until now, we don't tend to even think it that way, let alone understanding that this is attachment that's coming up, or this is the anger that's coming. We don't realize that. When the anger comes, we just let it come. When attachment comes, we just let it come. So we have to understand. Now we have to analyze and check our mind all the time and come to understand that if the attachment is coming up, we have to understand that attachment is coming up. If there's the anger coming up, we have to understand there's an anger coming up. Ignorance, of course, is always is there all the time, right? And most of the time when these angers and attachments, when they come up in our mind or when they manifest in our mind, we don't see their faults. We only see. We actually more we support them. When we get angry, and we support it by thinking about all the reasons. When we get angry, we think about all the reasons. And then we get even more and more angry towards that. And the same with an attachment. When we get attachment towards something, whether it's material things or appearance or whatever that we are attached to, we think of more reasons, to see it more beautiful and then to have more attachment towards that, right? We never, see the disadvantage, of those delusions, and when it arises in our mind, So it's the same. I feel this. I have the same, problem, and I'm sure We all, most of you have all that kind of problem also, right? And we never, see them as a bad, as a disadvantage. Rather, we, always support them and, serve them as if we are their, the enemy. So when we get angry, like I said, we increase it more and more, by thinking about all the reasons, why that person's bad, how he's bad, or what he said, and all these things, And then same, with the attachment. More and more, we see more and more beautiful. We even like exaggerate, even if it's not that beautiful, but we exaggerate it and say it's more beautiful than it really is, with all these different different reasons. And so we increase delusions, in that way. Instead of that, now by understanding that this is a delusion, we should see the disadvantage of these delusions.
Then also. Pesegina, Sozo de Shayabo, she was so manuji, Meba the Carre Session. Sozo de Shevon, Gassi is on the Vinico, repeating a Yapos and the Devana, Mishanda Chido Kete, Tenichi Maduga, Shadam Maduga, Chishes on the coast 70 days and Joan over there. Many say unit, attended to Yapo Maduga, Chichi, Garochi Martin. Tanichi Muslims, Teto Yapasam, Chono Karana Toa in a sedition, call a chapa the pet don't over there. The Tomonate Zuma Nuji say, Yona, Mikazesha, Degua. They talk to do a thing out of Yonova. So Shevon Gas Telia, Satan, Meso, the Jala in and that Notadel, Mishambachiga, Teta Tengas, Yabo Maduga, Michigan said the Teta Canina, so take it. Michigan last on Musa de last on Tayabo Metaje, so Tomoni Zuma Nuji may be thought terrible.
So when we think of something as beautiful, it's not true, If it's true, then it should be really, that mind should stay there all the time. But for example, like when we see something very beautiful, and then we say, oh, I must have that thing, and then we ask somebody else, what do you think of this? And this is, oh, this I think is okay, not too bad. And then your attachment is not strong anymore, So your attachment already goes down a little bit. And then other person says, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, and your attachment even falls down, right? And then other person says, oh, I don't know what you saw that, and I don't like it at all. If somebody else said that, then your attachment will be completely gone, right? So you will not have any desire for that thing anymore, So that shows that whatever you saw at the beginning is not true. So beautiful you saw at the beginning, the beauty that you saw at the beginning is not true, because moment all these people told you about their opinion, and it just went away, So it's not there anymore. So that shows that it's not true.
나로서 같이 가르쳤다. 도도 나체 쇼기나다 저로서 녀만지 잘래는 로야래요. 지리다 손에 가르래고 요면 해 하먹고. 로방문에 돈에 그 지리다 손에 가르래고 요면 하먹고. 대이다 당에 도도 나체는 나로서 너자 전에 대저에 차 차와도 최와 필요하도 다 되네 용거 여러 봐. 대이다 배나 차 차에 내가서 저기나 내 저로서 저기는 아니 전에 차 차를 라반이데 내리 제거 요래서. 내리 제거래. 자당은 너와 걸어놓으려 못해 봤다는 잘래서는 내리 잘래서 거. 너와 성집에 샤자데 공도도 샤워서래. 네, 내리서. 네, 안에 성제지 거주가 세대래서 내 성제지 거주를 내 너버가 세대래서. 내 너버 수주를 필요할 때 내리 제국이 요래서 샤자자딜.
So I'm not sure, since you have gone to work today, and I don't know how you feel. And I don't know, I'm not sure, how long I can go and so forth. So anyway, in short, when the most practices that we always do, like making prostrations and making offerings, right? So I'll just explain a little bit, about that. So when you make prostrations, you have to fold your hands together. When you fold your hands together, you have to tuck your two thumbs in the middle of your palms, and then you fold your hands together like this. You don't like stick, the two palms, against each other. That's like the outer or external, the non-Buddhist way of folding the hands. So in our Buddhist way of folding hand, has to be able to tuck your the thumbs inside the palm. So the thumbs symbolize the jewel, and then the palm is the folded hand itself. Symbolizes the holy body of the Buddha. And tucking the thumb, which symbolizes the jewel inside, symbolizes that the statue of the Buddha is filled with all these holy objects inside. And then when you, and after folding hands together, holding your hands together, then you place the folded hand on the top of your crown, right on the middle of your crown, and that is and that's creating a cause to occur or to achieve Buddha's protrusion.
And then you bought the Neja Guyores, Kare Sanja Jesu, Sambe Yon Debi Nebaja Guyores.
And then the second, you place it on your throat, and that is creating a cause to achieve the speech of the Buddha.
And then somebody nearly Johnny, two number 20 chimney, you shouldn't be Nebaja Guyores.
And so that's called the Brahman's voice. So that's the speech here that can the one speech that is heard by all many different speeches. And then the third one is placing your folded hands at the heart. That is to achieve the all-knowing or omniscient mind of the Buddha.
So Java the Kunju so get the Mare, we won't have Kunju so let service at Temare. Can Sonja says almost such a tiny no draw cashew desert, the Soja you should do. And Tada de Sumbe Young, two number 20 chimbe Yishi. Oh, Nila Chijaga, Pegosal, Sonja and Zeppin to be Nipa. Shijaga, and then Nietzsche, Shijago.
And so some people, there's some, so when we do 3 times that way, some people think that those 3 symbolizes the 3 jewels. It's not that, it's not symbolizing 3 jewels, okay? And so usually we do 4, like the one at the protrusion, so that symbolizes all the qualities of the Buddha, right? So that's the most hardest one to achieve. And so that's one of the 32 major marks, so that's one of the 32 major marks, and which is most hard to achieve. That requires a lot of merit and so forth. And so therefore, so that first one is the symbolizing to achieve the protrusion of the Buddha, and then there's a coiled hair on the forehead, and so that's one of the 32 major marks. And so when you place 4, you place 1 on the crown, on the forehead, on the throat, and then at the heart, like that.
Yala Dumbig, Sajog ne Diba, Yala Dumbasigo, Yala Dumba, Sajog ne Diba, so Saba the Diba, Jonga Kangane, Ganga Tui, then Yala Dugan and Dogiore. Yala Duna, Yala Dugan and Tomo de Shansawate. Take the Shansawate, Yitange, Shansatode, Tomo Shaja Chatonde. Anita Jaja to Kaba Shagun, Anima Sha Tag, the Lumane Tonizon, a combat of Lapato of Halebe, Kaza man, Mr. Chonagina, and a pay Chambore, Sunguyore. Carrization, so the pay Coronel and Don Layore, so the legal Cheto never was, which is a Sajala took about the Dutara, Tonton, Ecology, Jabashawa, Tonja, the pages less by Eason, Yore, Shark, Pale. So the Woonimata, the Tara Kaza, or take Tonton of a page, Yunguyores.
And so so that's this is what I was trying to explain about the 7 limb practices. And the 7 limb practice is the practice that includes all the essence of the practice of purification and practice of the accumulation. So accumulation of merit and purification of the negativities. And so that is included in these 7 limb practices. So among the 7 limbs, the first one is making prostration. So when you make prostrations, that's what you do. So you fold your hands together and then place it on these places that I just described. And then after that, then you bow down all the way to the ground. And then it says you stretch as much as you can your body. You stretch your body, to cover the earth or the floor as much as you can. It is said in the sutra the benefit of making prostration. So when you cover your body, when your body covers the floor of the earth, so whatever amount of the number of atoms that you have covered, and so the atom is not only on the surface but all the way until you touch the Vajra ground, all the way down in the Vajra ground. So how many atoms that you have covered, how many number of atoms there are in that area that's covered by your body, and at that many time you're going to be born as a wheel-turning king.
keso chenpoye ta sha cha togo mo de she dulu thola de zugu rimbo de dulu thola res sha cha togo de ngal keso yo sa de kuzu chenpoye za ma kaze ne so na ti de ta de todo nyome peye yo yo de ti re sa.
So there was this monk called Tapu Doje, and he excuse me, he had a very huge body, and he says the only good thing about having a huge body is so that I can create more merit when I make prostrations. Otherwise, it's waste of all this clothes and food and all these things. So otherwise, you have to feed and you have to clothe this body, and those are all waste. The only good thing from this body is that I can make a prostration and accumulate a lot of merit.
다 당게 쉬어야 되는 이제 사족 내 디바 열라 domba 생각에 차안 사와도 쳐봐 피와도 디바 샤바도 개발라 지서 이름와도 아니 제고 거와도 양해를 못하와 소환돼 봐도 개와 종조는 뭐 와서는 대 뒤들에 열라 domba 생각이 와래스 가르르도 대 뒤에 요나 조사도 가르치나 제 도고요 매 열라 강가 총화세는 이제 때문에 샤와 가르치나 내 도고요 그래서 대이다 열라 넘바세는 빼샤가야 돼 요새 때래샤.
And so these are the practice that includes all the accumulation of merit and all the the purification of the negativities. And so making prostration, the 7 limbs, right? So first one's making prostration, making offering, purifying the negativities, rejoicing in the virtues, and requesting to turn the will of dharma, requesting to not pass away in nirvana, and dedicating the merit at the end. So these 7 are the essence of this practice for purifying the negativities and for accumulating merit. So these are also called 7 limbs. So because this can be practiced by all kinds of practitioners.
다 제바 피하데 단계들에 제바 가로서 가르게 피게 이나요 제예샤서 메도 드베 농사 저자 가르게 피게 이나요 다데 소만 넘바다 베고네 야 피하데 봐 호텔 요 메바세데 그놈 요 메바도 제 요 메베고네 야 제바 피하데 레서 다텔은 데시 단계 지자사 팀에.
So then the first one is so that's about the prostration, right? So we just discussed about it, and then offerings we already talked about it earlier when we arranged the offerings, right? After you arrange the representatives of Buddha's body, speech, and mind, then you make offerings. So the same here. So when you make offerings, then make offerings of the things that is not gained through deceiving others. So deceiving by the material or deceiving by motivation. So without any kind of deceits, you should offer those offerings.
다 제바 상타와도 체지 다 샤바 생각에 디바 샤바다 디바 샤그레로 소소소소 디바 샤그데라 아니 냠보 도지 총회군의 샤도 체그요 아래서 냠보 도지 총회군의 샤도 체그요 아래 냠보 도지 총회군의 샤도 체그는 디바 차치보 가네지나 샤모도 바사와니네 요 말에 다 또비시서야 돼 땡지 또 냠비 또 넘바 선지메 또 니발레 라도비 또 무슨 또 비시레스.
And then, purifying the negativities, right? So when you purify the negativities, you have to purify it by involving all these 4 opponent powers. And so if you involve these 4 opponent powers, then there won't be any negative karma that cannot be purified when the 4 opponent powers are involved. So then the 4 opponent powers are the power of basis, the power of regret, the power of antidote, and then the power of promise. And so those are the 4 opponent powers.
야 땡지 또 생각에 소소 것이 되대 금달이 디바샤도 제게는 땡지 또의 것이 되대 되면은 근조서 금달 샤게는 근조서 모델에 라메 금달 샤게는 라마데레 땡지 또 nhiệm to sẽ to so so mani dong ge yin da yi ja dong ge yin da de ba de ta be se da gar dong ge yon te nhiệm to res na number se ji be to de ke che shu de number se ji be to de ke che shu de ya bo che yon ne jan da gang ga ya bo yong ge de ya bo che men jan da yong ge yon number se ji be to se de ani tu ku do so wa ta bin je ba se de de ba se ya de sawan yin ne de ma so 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 de ne je ba shu ta bo che ge ge yo de number se ji be to se res 아니 이번에 라도베 또 세다 제 자원인의 리마도 다 현재에 되는 자원인의 제금에서도 로치 그거요 알았어.
And so for the power of the basis, so if you are making you are doing the practice, you are doing the practice of the purification in the presence of the 3 jewels, then the 3 jewels will be the power of the object or the basis. And if you are doing in the presence of the Lama, then Lama will be the power of the basis, And then the power of the antidote, is the practice, whatever practice that you do. Either you're doing the Vajrasattva mantra or Om Mani Padme Hum, the Mani mantra, or you're doing some meditation, whatever kind of practice that you're doing in order to purify the negative karma, that becomes the power of antidote. And then the power of the regret, that's the most important one. So if you have that, then all others will be good. If you don't have that, then others will not be very good. So the regret is that feeling very bad for having done that negative karma, right? And so you have to feel so bad, like if you have eaten a poison. If you have eaten poison, how bad you feel, so how rush, how much you would rush, to take it out and so forth. So that's kind of the rush you should have, in order to purify the negative karma. So that if you have that kind of regret, then then you will have that practice, and you will do that practice, to purify it. And then the fourth one is the power of promise. And so the power of promise is saying that, making a promise that you will not engage in those kind of negative karma, even at the cost of your life. So making that kind of promise at the end. So those are the four opponent powers.
Hey, no masanjebe to said that Tangitani Chevate, two Kodoso Tabin Java said, Pena Missum to Savan Dandache, Missum Tignondo to Savan Dandache, Michi the Shitawache, Michi the Brain Nani Keja de Yovache, Michi the Tonto de Yonayo, Michi the Simti Kazayode, Carre de Jonocosa, the two Savan Dandarava, and Michi in the Shita, Michi in the Shitocher, Takoro Sheval and Yamarava. 다 콜은 제가 쉬어서 아직 다른 데는 같이 다 와서 쉬는 신경이 드니 상황인데 제금에서도 제바치 용거요. 그래서 어떤 노지에서 가로서 그거요. 그래서
And so about the power of regret. So for example, if three people have taken a poison, unknowingly, right? So three people have taken poison. One person have already died. The other person is suffering, with all this pain, from the poison and so forth. The third person who is still not very affected so much, how much regret he will have, right? And seeing that he's also very close, to experience that pain and then, eventually die. And so, how much regret he will have, and how much, how much, promise he will make, to say, if I could, if I can get better, and I will, never ever take that kind of poison again in the future. And so that's the kind of regret, you should have towards having created the negative karma.
And
so if you have that, kind of thing, in the four opponent powers, then any kind of negative karma can be purified.
나로 다리 문에 돈에 야보지 레송 제세 이노서 가와 고마야 돼. 다 야보지 레송선에 가와 고야 돼. 대소소 다리 여마치를 계조 야보지 제토에 도규 군다를 소소 제세 이노 제가 있는 개와 인주돼. 담보네 개와치 사자 텔 제세 이노 제가 있는 개와 인주돼. 현다 개와 사바텔 제세 이노 제가 있는 개와 인주 제가 말에 배 무시 봐요. 가르레 디션 모토쇼 나자도 아니 타도 그냥 못 놓고요. 나자도 타도 생각 토연 넘바를 봐. 토연 넘바체데 소소가 바로 보데 미 야보래 소소 마에 마마치 주고요. 대다 나자가 타도 그냥 못 놓고요. 그래서
And then the next one is rejoicing, right? So rejoicing means feeling happy, feeling happy about what good things that we have done. So it could be our one thing, or it could be other things. So if we have done good, then we can rejoice, upon our own good things that we have done. It says, oh, that was very good. So in the daytime, you have created all these positive karmas, right? All the practice you have done of making prostrations and so forth. And in the evening, then you think about it and say, oh, that was very good that I did that. So you create double merit. So in the daytime, you have created merit by doing the practice, and in the night, you create another merit again by rejoicing over that good karma that you have created. And then if you rejoice on others, then the benefit is even more, and even more, because that also applies an antidote to pride and jealousy. So when you say somebody has done very good, and then you say, oh, that's very good, if you feel very happy about what they have done and rejoice on their good action, then that becomes antidote, to the pride. So pride is something that you think of others as very low, right? And put others in a low place. And so when you put them in a low place, or when you rejoice on their virtue, and then think of them as a good, then you're not putting them in the low place, right? So that becomes the antidote, to the pride. And then of course the jealousy, this is like when you don't like, other people, doing better or good, And so when you rejoice and when you feel happy for other people doing good, then that also becomes an antidote, to the jealousy. So on top of creating the same amount of merit as other person has done, you also apply antidote, to these delusions. Therefore, the benefit is much more bigger.
This song that catching on to the Nila Shasara Yola Mena Hakomaso, Bena Yamanga Dal, Ane Jabochi, Sonja Chone, the Koto Cheba, Najala, Nuki Tapa Richard, Suzy Tonga or Esumorava, Suzy Tonela, Suzy Jitarilla, Sonja Chone, Gava the Solomogas and a Marcacha Toyore. A Marcacha Jaboti, Gava Soto Chana, tell Mosho, and Jaboti Telagor. And then the Sonja Chone, the Gava Mogre, Gona de Mochi or tell Chongo Jagor, Gavate. And then tell the Jaboti cancer. Gava the Nal Savani in Mogumundus. A Kurukulla Gavato Chegre over Chegre of Mingajal Kadina Pigorva. And then cancer, Nal Senan me. The Suchi Way and the Che on my thing, Nal cancer Matoza, the Karina, Co Sendichin and Jabul Be Shakombo Charesa. And then Lambo Takeba Chota, Jabo Karanu with the Chin Yugo. Not guess as a maratani, Combo Chana said, Nagaman and Nagaman. Tarina Chi, Yosa, Sulu said, the Tanitela. And it got the suggestion the Kodo Chebala, the nigger Suzy Tonga Yore. Gavad and all Savani and Mogamandus. Not a sentence. Hotel Adila, Lambo Talakeva, Take Chegman, get 3 children and Moya Chogres. I told him as a toga, not a metro, there was a day, you know. And Telecita, Shella Pai, Jesarella, suggestion the guitar, Gavad the Solomon girls and Market Toga, Lambo the Monastery more the Jabba do you? Jabba doing more to Kejan, the creatures, the Keja, did Tinawatella Gavate, Jabol Monuga. And the Jabba the Lord any cancer, Karacha, Tilichora Karacha, Tiligavat and Alamoso. La Dilla, Chora, Jisa Chego or Maravas. More Jisa Chego or Karate, more take a Tilisation, what a Cadina, Jabo Senochemo. Monetone level as Sonja the Koto Cheval, Yamatabal and then he switches Tonga or Miss and Nochemo, Sonne, Jesse Rochego Sarava. A Jabiga Kiton in the Jesse Rochego, the Senator was some other Jesse Rochego was some Marava, Chetanga, or Jesse Rochella, or Tenicocha, Morga, Kala Tomako Pio Marava, Gavakanga Kola Togan, take a Jesse Unity, and what talk numbers of Jesse Rochelle, the Cherokee Chambores.
And so I don't know if I have mentioned this to here before, but I might have mentioned to others. Anyway, so there was this king, of the Magadha in India during the time of the Buddha Shakyamuni, and so he will offer, lunch, meal, to the 500, monks, with the Buddha, and every day he will offer food, a meal, to these 500 monks, and every day. And then at the end of the offering, then the Buddha will ask, who should I dedicate the merit to? And then the king will say, whoever has the most, whoever has the most powerful virtue, please dedicate for that. And then he always, Buddha will always dedicate, for this old lady who was sitting, outside, like a beggar, old beggar lady, and she was sitting outside, and so the king, the Buddha will always dedicate for her, because she was creating more merit than anybody there, and that was by rejoicing, in the Buddha, in the king's act. So then, but the king didn't understand. The king always thought that he's the one who's making offerings, so his virtue must be the most powerful one, and therefore he should get the dedication. But every day, the king will, the Buddha will dedicate for the old lady. And then, so he was so worried, so he started to lose weight and become sick, just through that, concern. And then one of his ministers asked him, what's happening? And he said, no, nothing's happening. But he said, you don't look happy, and you're losing weight, you become thin, skinny, and so forth. And then he said, he mentioned, so I'm making all these offerings, and I thought I was creating the most powerful virtue, and I never get this dedication, from the Buddha for that. And then this minister was very skillful, and that day when they made the offerings, of the meal, to Buddha and his disciples, the monks, and so when during that time the minister went and with the stick and then beat the old lady, and so she didn't get to rejoice that day, and then therefore the king's merit became the most powerful one, and then that day Buddha dedicated to the king, and then he became happy. Later when he realized, when he asked why he was not getting the most powerful virtue, is because he wasn't rejoicing. Of course, he didn't have any sense of miserliness or stingy, but he didn't rejoice. He was making offering, but she was rejoicing over him. She was always thinking, oh, this king is so fortunate. He's able to make all these great offerings to the Buddha and his sanghas. Oh, it's so wonderful, so nice. Just by thinking like that, she was creating more merit. So anyway, so the story is that the moral story is that when you rejoice, you create more merit, than others, if their thoughts are not as pure as yours.
goya is ngaro so tari ngene tone ngaro so kange yapo shebo si chung yare so tatari tise da yapo si chung so ne yese yoro teze chege ina ne tangi chewa no ji gewan da jo ya pen ogres.
And so we can also rejoice on our own situation here. So we have had this great fortune for the Rinpoche to teach and and many people to gather together and create merit and do all these things. So we can rejoice over that. By rejoicing over that, and then we also create more merit. We already have created merit by doing this, but by rejoicing we create double merit.
대 소소소소게 제네 말에 초바제요 이제 카진이 셔야 될 초바제요 다들 그 개와데 가르쳐나 줘야 돼 야보시 용거요 네 계속 셔봐 노지 나로서 초바제요 하자든 다리 손도 제네 개와들이 이제 아주 중요해서.
And again, I want to mention this, that it's not by ourselves alone, right? And it's because of the center, because we have a center, because we have this community, and therefore we're able to do it all together. So, like I said, when we have a community or a center like this, it's always so good, for many things, like for creating merit and so forth.
다 드니치리 샤네 다 저로서는 저와나 도야 요는 알아서 파치 돌리 체네 로로소소 저와나 도야 요는 알아서 대속이 있는 야보요 알아.
And so we'll stop here with that, and maybe we can have some question answer. I think it will be better if we can just discuss, with the question answers.
Rinpoche, we're very fortunate to have a stupa in our center. Can Rinpoche make a comment of the benefit in our practice to come to center and circumambulate and do practice here?
지금 말아서 최대 여바데 선험 좀 부시로 삼거두스. 먼저 최대 여라를 뭐지. 먼저 잡로 최대 여바데 먼저 선험 좀 부시로 삼거두스. 이나 미드서 되네 망보지라다 지 개편 내야지도. 다시 최대 여바데다 개편 펜터 하셔야다. 펜터 용하다. 근데 개편 내야지도 가르나 버렸어.
단 타운서로 가르 뒤셔나 되네 저기 있는 야보요 봐. 녀마 따빠 제게는 걸어서 레카요 아이다 가버려 봐. 타운서로 뒤셔 제바체 되네 되네 총조 제네 최대로 거라자야래 처음에 배야래 아니 자체 둔체 배야나한테 남나 제야요. 소소 쓰는 사람 제다. 어떤 데 제토가 있는 야보요 봐. 거라 집어 많이 봐.
So of course, if we can just circumambulate into the stupa, that itself would be great merit. But it is hard, for everybody to come, every day, to circumambulate the stupa. But if we can arrange, like a ceremony where people can, on a special days, on a holy days or special days, where we can arrange, to have a lot of circumambulations done in a group, or making offerings. There we have like 100 offerings and 1,000 offerings. Ceremonies that we can do. If we can arrange that kind of ceremonies, then that may benefit more people.
가서 니트 걸응한데 용들을 게츠가 다 뭐뭐도서 패다시 제공돼서 다들 최대의 문제 대사자 주제진데 최대 시작에 있는 다 그런데 거라 용에 패다시 용사에서 게츠게 공부를 텐데 다 다리 문에 자샤네 빼야 보충스.
Rinpoche said when he came in 2009, there wasn't this stupa there. But Geshe Tsulga said, it would be very nice if we can have stupa here, so that can be benefited, for many people. And like he said, we have a stupa here now, so that's really good. And his wishes have been come true now.
Also,
Rinpoche, you spoke about being careful around other people about your speech, and then being careful when you're alone about your mind. So when you catch yourself, say, having a negative thought, is it more beneficial to regret the thought or to rejoice that you caught the thought?
Mi mangbokila soso ge nga dis dabu jawres soso chubu gapso tena soso sem de dachi jawres tesu den da soso sem da soso chubu de yoba jara soso chubu de yoba sem de da ji dukja da samlo khogo na na de samlo khoba de khorang mo song wa ina ta de mo song wa de la khorang da ta de sem de dukja chung sha lan ji yoba ke goregi yoba ke ri yaga regi ane ta sem de dukja song wa de mo song tu song la na jesu na che yaga res
ngosung toya
ngosung toba de la da jesu ran cheora pe abbot chung so jesu ran cheora ti cheba de yagiregi da pe sem de dukja shu chung pe dukja res na chi yoba kya jora ti che de
yaba yaba she ya de yabo ya de nisu toya de yabo shu se de se de dukja se ndo ya de pe dukja de so se ne yaba she ya de yabo ya ni ga ni so de
so yeah, they both are good.
Megawa Chayal and Java Cheson take Gavade, Rava. Gava Chayat and Jesus Richard Tayo Gavade, Nika Gavade.
So if you regret towards the bad thought, then that's a virtuous thought. So if you rejoice over a virtuous thought, then that's a virtuous thought also. So they both are good.
Java tell a game again Kuri in the Chow Sen Laja. Karen Megawa Chayat and Java Chen and Gavade. Gava Chen and Java Chen and Megawa is a
So the regret itself is a neutral. So it's not a positive, it's not negative, because it can be changed. It's a variable factor. So it can be changed. If you regret towards virtue, then that's a non-virtue. If you regret towards non-virtue, then it's a virtue.
No, they think today.
Thank you. You said that in your example of the prostrations, that the large monk had one advantage for being large, which was that he could cover more atoms with his prostrations. But otherwise, his body was kind of wasteful. How can I understand that view of the body when we're told that with a perfect human rebirth, our bodies are very essential for being able to continue on the path and to hopefully take another perfect human rebirth?
Rimchitagi tangazo karsa tawa de kusu chumbu ngi tawa jira sonso khorang da cha kusu chumbu ngi tawa jira res an khorang da cha sa do na da sa ma mo ka gyo za su bo sa ma ka gyo za khorang da sa na ma sa gyo res te je da khorang su bo chumbu yo ba de ba pen de chongsham ba de shen su bo chumbu yo ba de ko da to lo da
thola de se
da de song res an tila se da de da su bo de yo ba de thola res ya de morang da de
thola de thola de se
lo to lo thola
de lo mo wa sin do ga nga do ni ni sum do ma da ko chewol ane de lo to thola de so bo ko do thola se ma.
So Rinpoche said he's not saying that the body itself is wasteful. It's the cloth will be wasted. The cloth will be wasted. So because you have to spend a lot of cloth on that body. So if you cannot speak, you can also write in a piece of paper and give it up. If you have questions.
Rinpoche, is it we have two different practices, the Tara practice and a medicine Buddha practice, and we need to practice both of those, like you taught us to this weekend. Is it better to do one day an extensive medicine Buddha practice and then the next day do an extensive Tara practice, or to do a little bit of both every day.
And the Kurata Melagi Namleta, the Dogagi Namleni, Rinpoche Kazana,
No,
that the Namlen Chatan, the Nimachigla Melagi Namlet Taki with Roche, Nimashan Dada, then the Dogagi Namlet Taki with Rochina, the Nation Yagaragi, then Nimachigla, then you got a destination Agres.
You got a destination Yapoyot.
So you should do both of them a little bit. You know, if you can do only little, you can do both of them, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Mula. What's the Chemola?
Earlier, Rinpoche said that if we don't clean properly, that the Buddhists and Bodhisattvas won't come. And I was wondering the reason, because I was thinking, why wouldn't they come out of their compassion for us, even if we don't do our part properly?
다기가 저기 다 장마쳐야 되는 게 좀 그랬어. 장마쳐와는 되는 상계다 전주 선거도 지라 토고랬어.
노래.
제마도 그런 쪽바는 코로나 배경 말했어.
노래.
내가 송라스. 대지는 때 코로나도 되는 쪽바에 가서 장마 매바이나야 코로나도 되는 닝제 돈이 배경 말했어.
닝제 돈에. 닝제 돈에서는 코로나 닝제 요하다 가로서 대외 알루메에서 되네. 최진대 요 말아. 소소를 세외가 짜चे 요나요. 대자를 대외 알루메는 알루는 저 토고 말해서 그거 봤어.
Yes, they can come with their compassion, but you will not receive it. So you know you have to have both. They say that even if you have the hook of the compassion, if you don't have the ring of the faith, then the hook cannot catch you. If there's no ring, the hook will not be able to hold it. So you have to have the ring for the hook to hold it, and so therefore you need both from both sides. So Buddhists, of course, they have compassion from their side all the time, but we have to create that situation from our side also.
Is that saying that if we're not cleaning, it's because we don't have the faith that they're coming?
So if we don't,
I'm not sure. You said because we don't have the ring, the faith.
다들 장마 마서바이나? 장마 마서바이나 때가도 대비가 알롱도 매발했어 그래.
네, 소소 다디 제매바, 배약 다디 제매바.
Yes.
배약 다디 맞으면 배가 말아.
Yes, so when you invite somebody, you have to prepare, right, for the person to come. If you haven't prepared, then person will not be coming, right? If you haven't sent the invitation or haven't prepared for that person to come, then the person won't be able to come. So you have to prepare for the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to come. Yeah, that's you.
What is a wheel turning king?
콜로지 왜 잡으랬어? 콜로지 왜 잡았어? 가르쳐 버렸어.
다 드리선이요 말에 콜로지 잡으시는데 리치라 뭐와 리니라 뭐와 리시라 뭐와 들려요. 다 드리선이 콜로지 잡어요 말하면 좀물이 강가로 공개가 잡어지는 거 같아요. 콜로지 잡으세요. 그래서 드리선이요 말에.
So nowadays you don't see a wheel turning king, and so there was maybe in ancient time the king who can rule like not just one or two countries but the whole continent. So there are like the one continent or two continents, like four continents. The king that can rule the whole world like that, and so those are the we call it wheel turning kings.
So someone who's powerful.
Very powerful, yeah.
You were talking about offerings as an antithesis to greed, and that offerings are very important. And you also were saying that you can offer anything in the world that is good, like land and meadows. In my practice, how many things should I be thinking of if I don't actually have something to offer? I feel like I could sit there for 5 minutes and think about all the great things in the world, but should I just choose a few each time?
그 처법표에 여러분들 다보송하다 마송에 처법됐다. 잠볼링이나 가래요 바나 표초라서다. 다 진보다 사자다. 레다 나와다 가래다 표초라서라. 다디 푸두는다 뭐라서다 대대 삼바이나 삼로 쉬고야죠라. 안데 근데 삼바이나 삼로 추춤 쉬고 삼로 자춤 쉬고야요라. 네네. 안데 저다 감흥아랭가 데 그다 보라 강투도 삼로 코나 삼로 땅에 야가 여기 가시 삼 땅 가시 삼로 저 땅에 되네. 제법 가지고 있는 그 가지고 될 손으로 또 그거를 봐. 그래. 가래나 삼당 쪽으로. 네네. 삼바 삼당 야보라. 삼바 삼당은 야보야. 가시 다다 가시 삼당, 제가 가시 삼당 내려잖아. 내려잖아 야 그래 왜 가는. 다다 손으로 또 내지만 제법 필이 제 산에 되는 배동매로 봐. 그래. 제법 필 가지고 될 거로 손으로 된 거 그거요 봐. 그래.
Yeah.
So it's good to offer, whatever you can think of at that time, you should offer that, yeah. So, not living that, oh, I'm going to offer this now, and then that one I will leave for later. You shouldn't think like that. But even everything you can think of now, you can offer that.
Everything.
Yeah. Okay.
My question is about the arrangement of all these teachings. It is a shrine that's horizontally. We of course about that, but if it's like is it okay to have multi-level? And if so, then does the Buddha statue need to be right on top? Or I'm not sure about this.
So you have two questions, right? So one is multi-level, one is this way around, right?
More about
More the multi-level, okay. Talking about the
different word that karma.
the dulpang timapang se chara lo keje
Ah.
jadu ne dulpang timapang se
Mm.
dide ta dul da timase de khare so le de khande res
Dul sere tanda te kenyi tere ba. Tema sere segu tema de danzu do da nyemu tu so yorwa. Te do nyondo mi ba te chene. Do te ma sha wa do so do je nyemu tu so ma sha wa de mi ba che yarwa.
So the dust, is the dust, right? And the dust you can understand. That's the dust that you sweep, and then the stain, is referring to your the three poisonous delusion in your mind. So as you sweep the actual dust, the physical dust, you also imagine, sweeping away your mental delusions. Like that, yeah. So your mind, of the delusions, right? The three poisonous delusions.
Second question. Rinpoche, I have holy curiosity about the nature of your non-abandonment of your people and the non-abandonment of the way you didn't let yourself interrupt in the commitment of your life, but really of other people's life. So I feel deeply for your people, but it's not wise to say your people, because we all are people. So that non-interruption, which is a challenge for us in the practice of daily life, of sorrow, heartbreaking, and events of life that it's not always easy to sustain the wave of storms.
Sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Morang tuwa de abu gotu mason loje. Morang tuwa gotu mason sta kya marasa.
Yeah.
Somebody else? Yeah.
I would like to ask about practice if you're doing a 35 Buddhist prostrations in the morning and then you're going to do another practice after that, if you should be offering after the prostration or before the prostration.
당연히 뭐라다 그때는 차 사고 있나 야라 두고 전 당부 차 사야 된 거라. 전 처벌 보여준 거라. 난 당부 단 동사 거는 단 차사 되네 처벌 보여드는 저거를 그래서 그 처벌 보여사는 데는 차 사 버렸어.
네, 제가 피니 샤사야 요래. 동네는 샤 존조가 요래 쟁에 요래. 아니 지금 제가 핑에 요래 봐. 그래서 이 이미지 뇽도치 가야 요 말에. 오늘 가져가지고 제가 피네 되는 샤사 대종에 요래 봐. 근데 샤 도로 요래 쟁에 요래. 샤 존조 차리 되는 게 제가 먹는 요래. 그 가르쳐는
처벌 요면 뭐 시험 때네 차 사드네.
샤사나 돼 배연이 따로 봐.
So yeah, so it depends. You can make a prostration itself, or you can do both prostration and offerings, or you can do offering and the prostration. So like in the case of the practice where you wake up, and then you arrange the body, speech, and mind, and then make the offerings, and then you make the prostration. So in that case, you make the prostrations after you have set up the offerings, arrange the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha, and set up the offerings beautifully. So when you have done that, then you sit down and then start your practice. So at that time you make the prostration later. So other time, if you just go to the holy place, and then you make prostration, that's okay also. So you can do either one. Yeah, you can do just offering or just a prostration, or one after another, whichever way. Yeah.
now that we've received the medicine Buddha initiation, because they're part of the 35 prostrations, 35 Buddhas, does it make it more powerful? Does it increase power that of the practice?
동샤 숨성하고는 차사져를 뭐지 아 디딜라 답변은 단당 뭐라다 가서 메라제랑 톱상에서 메라 하게 되는 죽어라 동샤나 죽어라 이제 다때 디던 다 동샤 차는 동샤주는 다 차사와는 다 편쳐야 버스 아 메라게 제랑 톱사라 메라제랑 톱상에서 다 동샤고의 차사와는 들다 단다 편쳐야 버스
그래서 책으로 봐 그래서 너지도 만다
yes you have more benefit now because you have received the initiation yeah. 된다는 뭐지 맞아 다 쇼게야 랑도네 내가 배다가 가서 마시고 배하고 좀 셔서 배서는 좀 버셔 되는 로케 걸었어 뭐지 되는 손선은 그런 여러 문제 되는 손완되는 고용스 아니 대나셔다 쇼게 되는 삼로코 고나시 된 건 생라 되는 삼로코 단지 그래서 생라다 마냐 고나 직 삼로코 간데 거거랬어 마냐 고나 직 네도지도네 삼로코
예도 제del에 다 독일 저마다 온도 마소나 아니 손이 쇼게를 나오는 동아로 개조 야보치 제거이 소소 그 매바 거기는 빼야 보여 돼.
So you can also, premeditate on the thought that you're going to have tomorrow. And says, I'm very fortunate that I'm still alive. I'm going to go to sleep. But if I am fortunate enough to not pass away, in my sleep, then I will wake up and then do, a very good practice and so forth. So if you think like that, and that will be also helpful.
그래. 네. 오래. 간이 샤 상금에서 샤샤 사세 너 잡아 정도 되려와 아니 어떤 제와 세계에 야보요래 아 다리게 하마고네 다 샤샤 사서 때 뺏어서서 이제 세계에 있는 게와 용거요래 때내 용거래 아 칼라 사마 마유네
말하다게 뭐지다 그런 칼라 여버져라 다 그런 드린 세번 정에 뭐 차셔라 세번 정에 다 그거 샤서 이메라는 지단 그런 켈렌처라 다샤 이나 다 하모가지는 그 탈리나나 다 샤루사르다 다 그거 샤사도는 신의 템버다
아니
근데 당에 드린 세번 정에 샤사 요 말지네 다 되는 샤디 까네 다 샤디 육샤나 가르기 다 무튼의 샤사는 사샤나 가르
예전에 야쇼래 되네 대유전에 야쇼래 이제 세 용사를 방에 샤사게 메세사를 다들 뺏어서서는 파샤자기는 빼야오래 뭐네래
코로나는 다 대체는 톨라도 말해서 샤 톨라도
근데 그거 사이다 그거 톨라도야 돼 사나다 마사나다 톨라도야 돼
So just to let you know, the question was so for example, if you have taken a commitment to not eat meat on a holy days, like for on a full moon day, let's say on a full moon day, you made a promise not to eat meat on that day, right? And so then you didn't you made that commitment, you made that promise, but then you went to get a food and you got a meat in the food, right? And you didn't know, you forgot about the holy day, and then when you were eating, and then you suddenly realized that it is full moon day, and I have made a commitment not to eat on a full moon day, and at that time, is it better to throw the food away or just continue to eat it? And so the Rinpoche's answer is to throw it away, and then his concern is now, isn't that going to be wasted? And we said no, there will be somebody else eating afterwards. So there's never waste, in that sense, right?
야, 다 나로서 다리 뭐네 돈에 그 저로서 아주 저쪽 저 셰비가 개주래 게실라래 뭐네 저로서 관계가 ngarusul tadi pasuso ba yapo pena da cheson one tone ha lebe ga ya tadi yapo cheson te ida de moani yina yo rondo soso ga shu jani one tone ha lebe yapo cheson te ida ngarusul da sera chigu ngene senada ane ni tabane tuje che ya chedo ane choro soro che te yo no chola lendo ga yo mare nganzo yina yo ngarusul yina cha tuje se yo mare kanga koro tazo koro gre ma to ngarusul da po ja che yo mare 오늘 좀 대이다 저로서 피자야 돼서 세라시 코로로 로야레 마도 데레요 말에 대이다 넘어서 그러로 제야 돼서 오늘 돈에 하 레벨 가리체 모래 봐 근데 단다 나로서 나도 내 용에도 솔로 예나 용주도서 강화로로 코로서로 파페야레 마도 나로서 제네 야야도 되네요 말에 대이다 저로서 오늘 돈에 하 레벨 다로로 야포체소 당가로서 내내나 다 공시시나서 다 저로서 개와 드통레 다 드네 공시시나서 바 쇼아이라 아니 가셔가셔를 팬도 tempo 중요제레스.
And so I would like to again thank all of you, the director, the Geshe, and everybody here who have helped to make our visit very successful. It has been very nice. We have been very kind and organized everything very well. I would like to thank also for all the people who made the offerings and contributions. And so every offering that you made, is going to be, spent, for all the monks in Sera Jey Monastery. So Rinpoche said he would like to, thank all of you on behalf of Sera Jey Monastery, because everything, their tour is covered by the Sera Jey Monastery, and whatever they receive, all the offering will go to Sera Jey Monastery. So whatever you have made, it won't go, wasted. So there are about 3,500 monks in Sera Jey Monastery. And so, as you may know already, that the monks there are studying very well, and all the studies and the practices that they do is very good. That even pleases His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
야, 당연히 가서 세워놓지 저로서 강가 통보 야보 제야 될로 나와 요나 아니 저로서 취지 근거를 파세더니 자원 얘네 계좌시에 내고 말해. 러방가로서 넘바이 조치를 니니를 더니 자원 얘네 시에 내고 말해. 취지 개래마 돈지가 세다가 야보래. 러바 취가를 이나 걸어서 저 도지 전부 요순 거 요래라. 취가를 이나 이슈이나 가체이나 가리나 걸어서 뜸바되고 마치 수네 대주주전에 너네 민모보절로 팬거 요래. 러바 민모보절로 팬거 요래. 대이다 가로서 치료원고를 파지 시제세요. 자원이네요 말해. 오늘 돈에가 당가로서 배와 이나요 사자님까지 세는 가로 취지 전부 제요래. 더서 이나요 오늘 돈에가 집바 지정을 해마도 가까이요 말해. 되네 말어서 취지 남아요. 더서 오늘 아니 사자 제야 돼. 세라 개 전부래. 오늘 돈에다 되게 사자 제야 돼. 세라 개 전부래. 털로가 자와대 되래. 나도 취지도서 바 탐보시는 대 우마도 로시군 탐보 용거를 봐. 대이다 저로서 내이나요. 강가 탐보 야보시 요사래라 세라 가보치 단다 이나 못터네 탐보 야보치네 대. 응에 가서 셔바노지 라마 셔바 르모체가 공바동. 게시 서가가 공바도서 가로요나 또 저로서 내야 돼. 세라 개체 모래. 그봐. 단다 바다 야보래샤. 응원에 돈에 돼. 저거래. 뭐 정에 또 사이다 가서 셔바노지 유시에서 메모가 봐 유시가 말도 무진이 유시에 도고 말아 가서 셔바노지 저로서 하다 바다 제로지 다다 바다 빼야버르세.
And also, like I said before, I would like to say it again, for all of you to be harmonious, and supportive of each other. That's very important, So to have a harmony, among the students. And I see you all have very good harmony among each other. That's very good. And also, you should never say bad about other, religions, other tradition, of even like the Buddhism. So whatever religion there is, just by accepting, the religion, that itself is very good. That's good enough just to have some religion to accept. Because each religion have their own teaching, and their teaching benefits so many people. So, like His Holiness always says, every teaching has, something to benefit some people. So it benefits some people. So therefore, it's good. And so you should always think of all the religion as being very good, because it helps some people. And so you should never say bad. Oh, we are Buddhist. Buddhist is good. They are not Buddhists, so they're not good and like this. You should never say like that. And also we have different tradition of Buddhism in Tibet in itself, and you should always respect all of them. They all are very exactly same. It's just in a different way of teaching or practicing. Otherwise, they're all same, being the teachings of the Buddha. And so we should all respect all of these teachings, all the religions and all the teachings. So if these big, the groups are harmonious with each other, the small ones will be harmonious, with each other naturally. So we don't have to work any hard on that. And also, like I said, and Lama Zopa Rinpoche and Geshe Tsulga have worked so hard, to bring up this center, and it is now your duty, to keep it on going. So just work as they have advised and they have started. So keep on doing that. And Rinpoche said that you all look like you're all doing very well, but please continue to be well again.
고자 라마테 칠라 때세레 오늘 고자 텔레 미 첨보 요메라 마티바 시수야 취텔레 때 그거 요래 대송다 저로서 계실라가 샤라 녀모 제야도 계실라라 저로서 강게 쉬자네라 네 취소대 야보 용야 저로서 강게 쉬자야데 샤라 계체모레 계실라 멋지가 쉬자네 배통고 말에 저로서 강게 단다 봐도 쉬자가 요래라 단다 이나 못하네 저로서 강게 계실라라 로로 가는 노근데나 대노로 노스.
And then, like I said yesterday, that you should look at the dharma the person is teaching, not at the person himself. Just because person doesn't have a fame or status, doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to him. So whatever he's teaching, if he's teaching the dharma, then you should listen to him. So just like you have Geshe here, who who you should listen to and help in whatever way you can. Geshe by himself alone will not be able to do all these things. You should all help him, to get these things going on.
Yeah, Tuche Tata is. Ah. Oh, sorry. Oh, then you are doing it. Say, Soto Live. Soto, Geshe Landis. Tradition.
So the small offering that Rinpoche would like to offer to the important people.
Oh, Geshe La Tuje Chese is and
Thank you, Geshe La.
Soto. Tuje Che. And then the Mandible Shetem, what you do, 10 young dollars.
And so there's many blessed pills, the money pills. We'll leave it with the center director to give it to all.
So, that's going to see.
SPC.
Yeah. I am your.
So it's a high giver blessed code.
Quotation. Yeah, I am your activity. Yeah. Oh, good job. Tuche, when I don't teach a KJ, I was made another chassis. One really did a couple of Jana couldn't do that. Jana. One I should get it on the show. So they should get in the code of the show. They should go get in the show. They should. What I told us the leisure catches in the attitude. Oh, then the Nico Cosacha. Tell him. Yeah. How do you say no?
Rinpoche, Rinpoche. Thank you, Rinpoche, for returning to Kurukulla Center. Special. Thank you for your teachings, your empowerments, everything that helps us in our practice. Thank you so much. Thank you for keeping Kurukulla Center in your kind thoughts and caring for our community of both English-speaking and Injis coming together. Tibetans and Injis. I thank Geshe for his guidance, for his teachings, for having the opportunities to create these situations for us, these teachings, by inviting Rinpoche, by inviting others to come. It's very precious, very rare, it's very unique for our community to have this. Also, thank you so much for having all of these wonderful geshes and monks here at the center. So incredible to have the Sangha here. It has been just unbelievable for the past couple of weeks. Thank you, Damshala. Without you, we wouldn't know what's going on. And most of all, thank you, all of you. I rejoice in all of your merit that you're creating by coming to the center. You're creating the causes and conditions to have these teachings. Without that, it wouldn't happen. So thank you so much to every single one of you, because all of you are helping all of us to have these wonderful opportunities and enrich our practice. Rinpoche, please stay healthy. Please stay long and teach. Rinpoche, please stay healthy. Please stay long and teach. Rinpoche, please stay healthy. Please stay long and teach. And return very soon.
Please turn to page 39 for our closing model offering. Saji perki shukshin mito nam ram injini dekyan badi sangye jingdung yikte kuwari drokun namda jinda chewasho jetsun lame kutse rabden shin namda trile chochu yimadang Lobsang Delek drume sasundi dowe punse kadune juroi idam guru ratna mandala kone yataya.
Enganzo tanda teri ngaru su sajabe gewe tawa to so ta ngwa chega yi ta tane sanje je temba je ba don rowa dewa to tenze sheba to mano kase te je ba ani genda ji deno tu to to so ngone la ba se nyole dene se nyone monyo ya ji soja da kono ko to peje je ba cha zo bo te da ge shonda la dene yombe yo tu kan da nemi tu te do nyenge ron do je nyawa ron sa che de do no chinjo de je ba la te ta da long che cho ju ani so da no 다정로와 맞는 게 다도냐면 진짜 통제 라나면 뭐 용도바 조베 손제죠 공부토베 제든 로와 쇼세네 된거와 멜로시아 이 되는데 문제 제목으로 던지 대리 마신다는데.
Yes. And so we'd like to dedicate, the merit that we have accumulated, created together here. Please dedicate the merit, for for the teachings of the Buddha to increase, for the sentient beings to be happy, for all the holy beings, the great teachers to have long and stable life. And through the merit of all these practices, may there be no war, no famine, no diseases, and so forth in the world. And may all the beings always enjoy the happiness forever. And in short, please dedicate your merit for all sentient beings to achieve state of full enlightenment quickly. So now you can come up to make the offerings. So since this is the last day, you don't make the prostration, but just come up and make the cut offerings.
do ne te do te zo cho ye to za ji ye je je ne te zo jang zo da jang de ju da me zo ne da je ge mo te je jang zo ko je ma je ka ja ra de ye de la je da wa chen je de da lo me cho je cho no la shu da ni ne ge me zo da ma ze ni me so ngo ra na da so ko jo do ye ge ji nga wo lo zo tin de za jo yo je yo da do ji ni me no ka ba ja zo yo me ta de jo ran jo ja wa ku ni de me ni do tra ba so ye lo je je cho le ko ge no bo ni je ba je ja lo je de je le je do de ka za no ge ko le je ma zo chen do da no to de cho da ku da ra da ge je je mo je je sha na pe me cho lo do zo a zo ni ge zo zo da ma ka jo dru be che be ra ni ko zo je jo ja zo da je jo me jo se je ja ye cho lo da ge la zo da me da da je me me de ko de la nya no jo to zo jong je jong ge ja yue zo jo be yue ko ze do bo cho zo ge yue le me ton de da zo de je ge do ja de jo ji zo la me go ze ra de je no ga zhu le cho je je ma lo zo de me de me za zo no ye ma ze da do ne je ra je shu cha na je be san je do chang je ze ma ta je da la ku zo je si no ge ta do nyong be sen je do Manebe nyangele debe sala majage bat jawano nyangele mandawa temba juzo shedra doyo kusu tujo ten donola sado chado medo luge neba majige bat jawano nyangele mandawa temba juzo temba june daso senje donjela chudo tomo ge ngedro maleba zado Oso dati dambenda ye zawa ye sho jana jive sanje chanchu sewa donje dala kuzo zo chasi nonge tando nyambe senje do manibe nyangele debe sala majage bat jawa no nyangele mandawa dema juzo Chedra doyo kusu tuje de ndonola sado chodo medo luge neba majige Jawa no nyangele mandawa demba juzo demba june daso senje doje la chodo domo dozo waza dati damenda ye zo wa jo jana jive sanje no chanju sema noje guzo zo jase nonge dando nyambe senje doje manebe nyangele Sala majage bana jawa no nyangele mandawa demba juzo Chedra doyo gozo doje de ndonola sado chado medo luge neba majige jawa no nyangele mandawa demba juzo demba june jo daso senje doje la chodo tomo ge ngedro male bazat omo sadati dambenza sowa ye wo ye dama ye do daba ye do denga do nonga do yor do ma jamana ye sowa wo ye dama ye do daba ye do denga do nonga do Boda do yo do ma jamana ye sowa wo ye dama ye do daba ye do denga do nonga do Ada do yo do ma jamana ye so ay ranze se je ze ye lo mo la no mo ra je so je da ge Le mono le mono o jose se mo wange jamono no ba la ye zonge nye do mo la nge no jono pone lo mano ye no jo do mo mono zenje mono le no jo mo ye Dans une langue de journée, il y a la zone de je de moi, yo me de moi, je ne pas non moi, je ne m'en manque. J'ai eu le nez, maman, non, mais ya, sans je ne l'en ai je me dis, j'en ai des génères, je ne vois les béngonas, moi, je vois, je vois. Je suis mon ange je me dis le bon goye d'ange Yeah.